This story isn't about loud slogans or open confrontations. It's about the way prejudice hides in the silence of expensive offices and behind polite smiles. The invisible blueprint. Elias was used to being the best. At the Vanguard architectural firm, he was valued for his mathematical precision and his ability to weave futurism into harsh urban environments. But today, standing in the mirrored elevator, he straightened his lapel and felt a familiar chill. Today was the final tender for a new cultural center. The client was Mr. Thorne, a man of the old guard and immense wealth. The boardroom scene. When Elias entered the room with his assistant Mark, a young man looking every bit the Ivy League graduate, Mr. Thorne didn't even look up from his documents. "Good to see you, Mark." Thorne smiled broadly, extending his hand to the assistant. "Your project last month was magnificent. I'm sure you'll impress us again today." Mark froze, his palms turning damp. Sir, Elias led this project. Don't be modest." Thorne brushed him off, finally glancing at Elias. His gaze lingered for a split second on the architect's dark skin, turned politely vacant, and immediately snapped back to the familiar face of Mark. "Take a seat. Someone, get us some coffee." The silent battle. The presentation lasted 2 hours. Elias spoke with confidence, navigating through figures and material stress calculations. Yet, Thorne directed every question to Mark. "Mark, are you sure this budget is justified? Mark, explain how this structure will withstand high winds." Mark turned red, then pale, constantly looking toward Elias for help. Elias answered calmly, though a feeling he'd known since childhood simmered inside him. The feeling of being invisible. He was the author of every line on those blueprints, but to the man at the head of the table, he remained technical staff who happened to be sitting in the lead architect's chair. Racism isn't always a shout. Sometimes it's simply the refusal to see a person for who they truly are. The moment of truth. Midway through the discussion, Thorne jabbed a finger at a complex support beam junction. "Right here. This is a weak point. I've consulted with engineers. They say the structure will collapse." "Mark, you've made a mistake." Silence fell over the room. Mark shuffled through his tablet, at a loss for words. Thorne leaned back in his chair, triumphant. Elias stood up. He didn't wait to be asked. "Sir, you are looking at the drawing at a 45°/circ angle without accounting for the dynamic load coefficient." He walked to the projector and, with a few swipes, displayed the calculations. "We used an alloy that is 3 times lighter than standard steel but 5 times stronger under flexion. If you look at the weight distribution calculations, you will see the load is transferred to the foundation, not the beam. Mark didn't make a mistake because I designed this junction myself, using technologies your consultant likely hasn't studied yet." He spoke clearly, without a hint of resentment, but with such intellectual authority that the air in the room seemed to electrify. The aftermath. Thorne was silent for a long time. He looked at the screen, then at Elias, then back at the screen. Heavy work was happening in his mind, the dismantling of an old, dusty stereotype. "So, it's you," Thorne said, truly looking at Elias's face for the first time. "You're the Elias Vance." "Yes, sir. And I'm here to build a structure that will stand for 100 years, Elias replied. The contract was signed. But as he left the building, Elias didn't feel a sense of triumph. He felt exhausted. Once again, he had to prove he had the right to be in a room he had every right to enter. The world changes blueprint by blueprint, but the foundation of prejudice still requires far too much effort to tear down.